For nearly 8 years, my daughter and I lived separate lives. No phone calls, no visits, no holidays together. I told everyone I had accepted it. The truth was, I missed her every single day.
Welcome back to God Showed Up Stories. Tonight's story is for anyone carrying the pain of a broken relationship. The people who lie awake, replaying old conversations. The people who wish they could go back and say things differently. The people who miss someone they love, but don't know how to bridge the distance anymore. Maybe it's a son, a daughter, a parent, a sibling, a lifelong friend. And maybe the silence has lasted so long that you've started wondering if reconciliation is even possible. If that's you, this story is for you. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who may need encouragement tonight. And comment below. Have you ever prayed for a relationship to be restored? Never forget this. Sometimes healing begins with one small step of humility. All right, let's get into tonight's story.
For nearly 8 years, I hadn't spoken to my daughter. 8 birthdays, 8 Christmases, 8 years of wondering if I would ever hear her voice again. What started as a disagreement after her wedding slowly turned into something neither of us intended. At first, it was just hurt feelings. A few things said in frustration, misunderstandings, assumptions, pride. Then weeks became months. Months became years. And every year that passed seemed to make reaching out even harder. People occasionally asked about her. I'd smile and say, we were just busy living our lives. But that wasn't the truth. The truth was that I missed her constantly. Every holiday felt incomplete. Every family gathering reminded me of who wasn't there. Sometimes I'd catch myself looking at old photographs late at night. Pictures from vacations, school events, birthday parties, moments that felt like they happened yesterday. I'd stare at those photos and wonder how we got here. I prayed often, sometimes quietly, sometimes desperately. I asked God to heal whatever had broken between us. But year after year, nothing seemed to change. Eventually, I started wondering if reconciliation was even possible. Then, one evening, while cleaning out my garage, I came across an old storage box tucked away behind some shelves. Curious, I pulled it out. Inside were pieces of my daughter's childhood, construction paper drawings, school projects, handmade Father's Day cards, little notes written in a child's handwriting. One card simply said, "Dad, you're my hero." I sat down right there on the garage floor. And for the first time in years, I stopped pretending I was okay. I cried. Not the quiet tears I usually hid. Real tears. The kind that come from carrying pain for too long. I told God everything. How much I missed her. How much regret I carried. How many conversations I wished I could do over. How tired I was of pretending the separation didn't hurt. When I finally stood up, nothing had changed externally, but something inside me had. For the first time, I stopped focusing on who was right and started thinking about what mattered most. A few days later, I volunteered at a local community event. Honestly, I almost didn't go. I wasn't in the mood, but I had already committed, so I showed up anyway. During a break, I found myself sitting beside an older man I'd never met before. We started talking casually. Family, life, retirement. Then, somehow, the conversation turned toward relationships. He shared that he had spent years estranged from his son. The similarities between our stories were almost unbelievable. As we talked, he said something I'll never forget. He looked at me and said, "Sometimes pride disguises itself as waiting for the other person to make the first move." That sentence hit me hard, because deep down, I knew he was right. For years, I had convinced myself I was leaving the door open, but in reality, I was waiting for her to call, waiting for her to apologize, waiting for her to fix what was broken. The man smiled and continued. If the relationship matters more than being right, somebody has to take the first step. I thought about those words for days. Eventually, I sat down at my kitchen table with a blank sheet of paper and I started writing. Not to defend myself, not to explain my side, not to reopen old arguments, just to tell my daughter the truth, that I loved her, that I missed her, that I regretted my mistakes, that I hoped one day we could talk again. I mailed the letter without expecting anything in return. Then I waited. Weeks passed. Then one afternoon, my phone rang. When I saw her name appear on the screen, my heart nearly stopped. I just stared at it, then answered. The conversation wasn't perfect. It wasn't a movie moment. There were awkward pauses, tears, difficult emotions. But it was a beginning. And after 8 years, a beginning was more than enough. Over the following months, small conversations became longer conversations. Text messages became phone calls. Phone calls became visits. Old wounds didn't disappear overnight, but honesty slowly replaced silence. Grace slowly replaced resentment, and healing slowly replaced distance. One conversation at a time, one step at a time, one act of humility at a time. Looking back now, I realized something important. God didn't show up through a dramatic miracle. He showed up through a conversation, a memory-filled box, a wise stranger, a letter, a softened heart. And maybe someone watching tonight needs to hear this. If there is a relationship you've been grieving, if you've been waiting for years, if pride, fear, regret, or hurt have built a wall between you and someone you love, maybe healing doesn't start with having all the answers. Maybe healing starts with taking one small step. Because sometimes God begins restoring what was broken the moment we become willing to reach across the distance.
If this story touched your heart today, comment below. Healing begins with one step. And if you're carrying the pain of a broken relationship, remember this. Not every relationship can be repaired overnight. But sometimes, God begins healing the distance the moment someone chooses humility over pride. Take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who may need encouragement tonight. Thank you for spending this time with God Showed Up Stories. And always remember, God always shows up right on time.